The Honeywell C-1 Autopilot was responsible for launching the company into the aviation market. Today's Honeywell is a $40 billion company with 130,000 employees worldwide. Aerospace, with about $15 billion in sales, is the company's largest business unit. The company dates back to 1885, but did not get involved in military products until 1941, when Honeywell engineers demonstrated an electronic cabin control system they had developed for Northwest Airlines to Army Air Force personnel. Honeywell was asked if they could use the technology to keep air reconnaissance cameras level, and quickly came back and demonstrated a successful prototype. Soon Honeywell was asked if they could develop an autopilot for the Army's top-secret Norden bomb site. Honeywell proposed a stabilizing system using flight gyros and proportioning motors to control aircraft elevators, ailerons, and rudders. Cables from electric servo units were clamped to the plane's regular control cables near the surfaces they controlled and adjusted for flight conditions more accurately than pilots could. The Army Air Force liked what they saw and loaned a B-17 to Honeywell, who developed the system at a hangar at Will Chamberlain Field and tested it by dropping bags of lime at targets in a northern Minnesota lake. The C-1 was selected for use by the Army Air Force in October 1941. The Norden bomb site was not in full-scale production yet. Honeywell was forced to work with 6 manufacturers' different autopilot control boxes and 4 different types of junction boxes, but came up with a common interchangeable system in only 6 months. The Army Air Force gave Honeywell a large contract in January 1942, and the company set up a new facility in Chicago and began full-scale production there on October 5th. Honeywell's Wold Chamberlain facility was busy during the war, training field service personnel, and planes being ferried to overseas locations such as England and Russia often stopped for mechanical and electrical repairs en route. The Walt Disney Studios were enlisted to develop a series of training films.
The autopilot, relieving the human pilot of many of his routine duties, takes the drudgery out of long flights. But it has a still more important purpose. It provides the bombardier with a stable platform and holds the plane on course during the bombing run, a function which we will cover more fully in subsequent pictures of this series.
The 8th Army Air Force, based in England, targeted Germany's military bases, manufacturing facilities, and logistics centers in its daylight bombing missions. Each mission required detailed planning, followed by briefings with each flight group.
This group of buildings here is your target. This building will be the aiming point. If your bomb pattern is concentrated in this area, it should very effectively knock out the factory.
The combination of the Norden bomb site and the C-1 autopilot created the stability required to bomb accurately from high altitudes. From 20,000 feet, bombs had to be released at least 2 miles before the bomber reached the target. On a typical day, hundreds of B-17s and B-24s took off from airports in England and headed for multiple targets on the continent. The navigator and bombardier got together to check their mission plans when the bomber got within range of the target. Once the bombardier had the target in his sights, the pilot switched control of the plane to the autopilot. The flight is now steered by the C-1 autopilot, and the bombardier makes adjustments to the sight mirror to keep it aligned to the target. Once the adjustments have been fine-tuned, the bombardier engages the unit's analog computer, and the bombs are automatically released. The public was not informed about the device until September 1943, when the Defense Department had learned that the Nazis had captured the device. The existence of the Norden bomb sight wasn't much of a secret, however, as you can see by this cartoon in a September 1942 Collier's magazine. Honeywell delivered 35,000 C-1 autopilots during the war and created a new aeronautical division after the war to pursue more civil and military applications of its control technologies. In its heyday, Honeywell employed 25 to 30,000 people in the Twin Cities. Acquisitions, spin-offs, globalization, and the merger with Allied Signal have reduced that to about 2,500. However, the company's aerospace products and services are found on virtually every commercial, defense, and space aircraft in service today, and 1,500 Honeywell aerospace employees in Minnesota provide ring laser gyros, inertial components, and other specialty avionics products for the company's operations in Arizona and Florida.